So I'm glad you made it to this talk today. We are here at the Grand Immersia Hotel in Canada, and I think you're here to learn the recipe to easily create digital marketing campaigns that are going to drive millions of people while you sleep, right? Well, I have bad news for you. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. So if you've tried digital marketing before, you probably know that it requires a lot of work, a lot of testing, a lot of patience. So what we're going to do today, we're going to try and set the foundation for the most popular platforms like Google search ads and Facebook ads. And hopefully after this talk, you'll be able to take some actions and do certain things for your digital marketing campaigns that are going to help your business grow. So first of all, we're going to talk about Google search ads. We're going to try and tell you how to set a proper foundation for your Google search ads campaigns. And just for your information, in 2020, Google search ads generated $104 billion. That is 71% of Google's total ad revenue, and it represents 57% of Alphabet's revenue, which is Google's mother company. So I have 104 billion reasons to think that, yeah, Google search ads are still efficient for many advertisers in a lot of industries. And what I'm going to do is try to help you set the proper foundation for escape rooms specifically. Now, Google search is an extremely powerful platform because what you can do is you can advertise directly based on the intent of a user. So as an example, if someone is searching for the best escape room in Boston, for example. So if someone types that on the Google search and you're an escape room in Boston, odds are you're probably going to want to show up because obviously you know the exact intent of the user. They want to find the best escape room in Boston to play. So it's really important to understand that concept that the intent is the key for success in Google search ads. So first thing you want to do if you want to get started on Google search ads is creating an account on Google Ads. Basically, this is where you're going to set up your password, email, your billing information, and your user access. Basically, there's no strategy really at the account level. Where the strategy really begins is just under that at the campaign level. You can create multiple campaigns within one account. And in those campaigns are the main settings that you want to create. And basically these settings can be geo-targeting, language-based, your budgets, device targeting, and many more different settings that you can control so you can establish what your target audience is for your advertising. And then under the campaigns, you have what we call the ad group level. So basically these are the categories or products and services that you want to set up so that your advertising is super relevant to the intent of the user. And I'll repeat that often. Relevance, intent, these are really important concepts when it comes to Google search ads. And basically in these ad groups, you're going to have different clusters of keywords and different specific ads based on those keyword lists that are going to help get that relevance up when it comes to your ads specifically. So as an example, so let's say you're an escape room in Boston and you have a budget of $300 per month for advertising on Google search ads. So the way you could set it up is obviously you could have one account. And if you have only one location, you can set up one campaign for the Boston location. And in that campaign, as far as the settings are concerned, obviously in terms of geo-targeting, you want to target the Boston area and maybe a radius around your location, maybe 25 miles, for example. And you're going to set up your budget, which would be $10 per day if your monthly budget is $300, for example. And basically, and then at the ad group level, what you would want to do is set up those different categories so your ads are going to be relevant to the intent of the user. So as an example for escape rooms, you can set up simply an ad group that is meant for people looking to play an escape room. So keywords like escape room in Boston, room escape in Boston, escape game, things like that. You can have another ad group that talks about team building, for example. If you're offering team building in your facility, then you can have keywords that are related specifically to team building, and where we're going to show an ad that is going to talk about team building specifically. You can have, if you're doing birthday parties, that could be another ad group. If someone's looking to do a birthday party for their teenage kids, then this is something you can do. Bachelorette parties, and I could go on with the different clusters, if you get what I mean, that allow for your ad to be super relevant to the intent of the user. Like I said, I'm going to repeat that often. Now let's say, I don't know, a pandemic happens and you want to start doing virtual escape rooms. I don't know, sounds crazy to me to do that, but hey, you never know. Well, maybe in terms of your strategy for your Google search ads, you want to have a specific budget allocated to your virtual escape room business. So in that context, what you could do is you can keep your main campaign for your physical location running, but have a second campaign set up that is specifically geared towards virtual escape rooms. So you could have its own budget set up for it and also its own geo-targeting. That's really important because the strategy in terms of geo-targeting is going to be significantly different when doing virtual escape rooms, because you can now have customers coming from anywhere in the world. So it's really important to think about that as well in terms of your strategy. And within that, you can have different ad groups as well. If people are looking for team building, well, there could be specific virtual team building. Or if it's just people looking for an avatar-based game or a point-and-click type game, these are different possibilities that you can also create with the ad groups within that virtual escape room campaign. So as another example, maybe some of you are running multiple locations. So one way to set up your Google Ads account, if let's say your billing is under the same credit card, then what you can do is under that account, you can set up multiple campaigns for each of your locations so that you're able to geo-target specifically based on where these locations are. And then within these, you can have similar ad group sets. So for example, if you have, again, team building, you have your escape room, you have bachelors, birthday parties, things like that. So these can be repeated in these different campaigns in order to make sure that, that you're targeting the right people at the right place. So what I would say in conclusion, it's very simple. The mindset you have to have when you're doing Google Ads, Google search ads, basically is to make sure that your ads are relevant to the intent of the user. No matter how you structure your campaign, that's the key component to remember. Make sure that your ads are going to be as relevant as possible to the intent of the user. So having a beautiful Google search ads campaign set up is great, but it's only one part of the whole advertising experience for the user. The next part we're going to be talking about is landing pages. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to make sure that your landing pages are efficient to generate conversions from the users coming to your website. First thing to think about, and it's really important, is to think mobile first. Pre-pandemic, when we looked at our internal data, we were noticing that over 65% of the people going on our website were doing it on a mobile device. So if your website is not mobile friendly, that's going to be a huge problem, or it's probably currently a huge problem for your business in order to maximize the amount of bookings that you can generate. Because we design our websites on big screens, so it's easy to get lost in the process. but it's really important to think about and looking at what the website looks like once on a mobile phone. Because nowadays, most platforms that allow you to create websites offer responsive design. Responsive design meaning basically that things are adapted automatically based on the screen size of the user. But make sure that you look at the experience on a mobile device in order to make that experience optimal. So another important component for your website is for it to load quickly. People have no patience. The minute your website starts loading, 2-3 seconds is too much. You have to make sure that your website loads very quickly. It's nice to have background videos and super high-res pictures, but those will hurt the experience of the users, because for some of them, these pictures and videos can take a long time to load. So make sure to look at these elements. And there's a tool that exists. If you type in Google Page Speed Insight and you type in your domain name for your website, basically it's going to give you a diagnostic of how well your website is performing in terms of speed and what components you can improve in order to accelerate the loading times of your website. Now, the next component that's really important for your landing page is to make sure that the page where people are going to land is relevant based on their search or their intent that they've expressed. So for example, if I type in Google birthday party activities in Boston, then what I want to do is make sure that when that person clicks on the ad, they're redirected to a page that's going to talk about birthday party activities that you offer in your escape room facility. So this is often overlooked, and oftentimes we just redirect to the home page, and basically you're taking a huge risk of losing that client because they're going to be looking around for that information instead of just simply sending them to that information. So really important to make sure that the page is relevant to the search. And finally, for your landing page, what you want to do is make sure to include a clear call to action. So basically what you want to do is give the information to the person on your website as to how to get in touch with you or how to make a booking in that context. And it's really important to think about your strategy here, because you might have on one side people looking for booking an escape room for tonight. So in that case, your call to action will be your booking calendar, and you want them to make that booking online. And then there's other contexts where, let's say you're doing team building and someone is looking for a team building activity. You probably don't want them to directly book their activity on the booking calendar. They have a more complex situation. They have, 30, 40, 50 people. They want to have catering, all that stuff. So you want them to actually get in touch with you by phone or filling a form online or something like that in order to make sure that you're going to be able to answer their questions properly. So the right call to action is really important, and make sure it's prominent on your page so that they don't have to search everywhere to find out how to get in touch with you. So call to action, also very important. So in conclusion, to summarize the path from an intent to a customer, it's really important to make sure that your ads are relevant to the intent of the user, and that when they end up on your landing page, that it's mobile friendly, that it's fast, that it's relevant to the text ad, and also that there's a clear call to action for for them to contact you, basically. So for this next chapter, what we're going to be talking about is Facebook advertising. To give you a little bit of context, Facebook is a little different from Google when it comes to how their advertising works. We talked about Google being very focused on the intent of the user, while Facebook is really centered around demographics and specific interests for the Facebook users. So it makes it a very different beast in itself, but not a less powerful one at it. And to give you, again, numbers for Facebook revenues, in 2020, Facebook advertising generated $84.2 billion. So it's quite close to what Google Search Ads has generated for that same year. And that amount represents the lion's share of what the revenues of Facebook consists of. So their advertising is an extremely important part of their business. And altogether, with Google Search Ads and Facebook, we're talking about close to $200 billion of advertising revenue, which is gigantic. And so the focus of right now is going to be on the advertising aspect of Facebook. But let's not forget there's also a whole community management aspect of Facebook as well. That's important. But today we're going to focus on the advertising. So like I mentioned in the intro, Facebook advertising is centered around interests and demographics. Now, in terms of how the account is structured, you'll notice that it's very similar to what we've just seen with Google Search Ads, but it actually plays out quite differently. So as far as how your Facebook account is structured, you start with the account level. Basically, it works the same way as with Google at that level, where you'll have your username, email, password, billing information, and all that stuff. And then at the next level, beneath the account level, you'll have campaigns, just like with Google, but this time it's a little different. At the campaign level with Facebook, you're going to be setting goals. And there are three types of goals with Facebook advertising. Basically, you have awareness, consideration, and conversion. So as an example, for awareness, what you would want to do is simply create visibility for your brand. So you would want to have as many people as possible to see your brand repeatedly. Consideration would be, for example, if you have an app to download. So you want people to download your app if you have one, or see a certain video, or have them interact and comment, like, share a specific image or video or whatever. And then you have conversion. And this is what we're going to be focusing on mainly. And that's basically generating a purchase or a specific action that will lead to a purchase. So this is what you set up at the campaign level. So beneath the campaign level, you will have ad set level. Basically, this is where you're going to be able to control your different settings. As an example, you're going to be able to control your budget, your geo-targeting, specific interests you want to target, specific behaviors. So it's really important to narrow your audience to find out basically who you want to target to. And at the ad set level, this is where you're going to be able to control that. And then under each ad set, you're going to find your ads. And basically, this is where you're going to have the creative around what people will actually see when they browse on Facebook. And the advantage of Facebook is that you can use images and videos. And actually, it is highly encouraged to use videos or images, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make people stop scrolling. Because that's what people do on Facebook. They scroll, 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 and you want your image to capture their attention. So that's where you can create multiple different variations so that you can see which ones work best. So let's take an example here that could apply to your escape rooms. So let's say you're looking to open 2 new rooms, one themed around, let's call them Perry Potter and the Sorcerer's Rock. It's themed around magic. And then you'd have another one called Mario and Sonic at the Escape Room, one themed around video games. So if you wanted to do advertising on Facebook for these 2 new rooms, here's an example of how you could do it. So first of all, obviously you have your account. And under that account, you would create a campaign around a goal of conversions because you want to drive bookings to your 2 new escape rooms. And then under that campaign, you could create 2 different ad sets. One ad set could be targeting, let's say, you know, for Perry Hodder, for example. Basically, you would have, you did your research, you know, you did a lot of research and you figured out that women between 20 and 35 who really enjoy the Harry Potter universe might be interested in your Perry Hodder magic themed room. So you want to set this up and you could set a budget around it. So let's say you have, I don't know, $300. So let's say you could set $150 for 1 month to promote that escape room using this specific audience targeting. And then on the other hand, you could create a second ad set for your second room, Mario and Sonic at the escape room. And in that one, you did your research again and you figured out that, well, men between, I don't know, 25 and 45 who particularly enjoy video games and the Sonic the Hedgehog character and Mario might be interested in your escape room. So again, you create that audience, you specify the geo-targeting where you want to target them, set your budget of, again, $150 for the month, and that might be a nice way to really make sure that the people that are going to see your ad correspond to the audience that you're looking to target. On one side, people that are interested in Harry Potter, and on the other hand, people that are interested in video games, Sonic, and that stuff. So, and beneath those ad sets, you want to create ads. Now, you want to use original images or videos that, again, will get the attention of your audience. So that is just an example. There might be millions of other ways to create a campaign on Facebook, but this is a way to make sure, again, that your audience is relevant to what you're trying to present them. So you'll understand that the key for success in Facebook advertising is your ability to hyper segment your audience. Basically, you want to make sure that whatever content you're going to be presenting them, that it's going to be relevant to the type of audience and their interests and their behaviors. There's no limit to how many segments you can create. It's only your time and money that you're willing to allow to this that will determine how many segments you want to create. But that's the key to really get successful at Facebook advertising. So the next thing I want to talk about is a concept called remarketing. Now, you might not be familiar with the term, but I'm sure you're familiar with the concept and that you've seen it in action. So to give you a quick example, basically if you're browsing on a website to buy shoes, and so you're looking around different pair of shoes, you're not sure yet, you're not buying. And then you go back on your Facebook profile and whatever, you're looking around and boom, you see an advertising for the shoes you were looking at earlier. Now this is not magic, this is remarketing. And it's the ability basically to target ads to people that went on your website. So this is something you can do for your escape rooms. So as an example of what we did and that works really well is that people that go on our website, we have about 97% that don't book or don't convert, don't do anything. They just go on our website and then go off, which is normal. So if you have these numbers, that's totally normal. You're going to convert about 2-3%. But what we want to do is try and convince them to book. And in order to do so, in Facebook, what we're doing is we have specific advertising for these people that visited our website and didn't convert. And basically what we do is give it a little sort of sweeten the deal kind of thing where they're going to see the ad and there's going to be a little promo code. for 10% off. You know, we know you're interested in our business. Here's a little something to maybe convince you to book and take that next step. So that's a very efficient way to drive more bookings to your business. So in conclusion, it's important to remember the difference between Google search ads and Facebook advertising. Remember that Google search ads, you're advertising based on a specific intent of the user. For Facebook advertising, you're advertising based on demographics, interests, behaviors, and status. And to be as efficient as possible for your Facebook advertising, you need to segment your audience as much as possible so that your ads are super relevant to each of your potential clients. And then also, what we talked about earlier on landing pages, the same thing applies here with Facebook. So if you're sending your audience to your website, make sure that you're sending them to the right page, that it's mobile friendly, fast, with a great call to action. And then we talked about remarketing. It's a nice way to try and convert an audience that hasn't converted in the first place. Because you're going to have about 97% of the traffic on your website that's not going to convert. So what you want to do is give them the incentive to do so with remarketing. So all this theory and information about building the proper foundation on Google search ads and Facebook ads, unfortunately, it can go all to waste if you don't do this one thing, and that thing is called optimization. Now, with digital advertising, the cool thing about it is that when you compare it to more traditional advertising like radio, TV, newspapers, and magazines, is that you can track everything. Clicks, impressions, click-through rates, cost per clicks, whatever. All this stuff is really cool, but can be confusing for many, people that are trying to get into digital advertising. So what I want to do, I want to simplify the notion of performance tracking or optimization. And the way to do so is to reduce it to one very important metric. And that metric is return on ad spend, or ROAS, or ROAS. You're going to hear it in different ways, but ROAS is the most important metric you're going to need to track in order to make sure that your digital advertising campaigns are working properly. So you're probably wondering, what is return on ad spend? Well, it's pretty much in the definition. You're calculating how much you're generating from how much you've invested in advertising. So as an example, if you've invested $500 in advertising and that money allowed you to generate $2,000, then your return on ad spend is a factor of 4. Basically, you've generated 4 times your advertising investment. Now, the question you're probably asking yourself is, well, how am I supposed to know that my $500 really generated $2,000? Well, the good news is that there are ways to track that very precisely. So as an example, if you want to be able to track the revenue generated from bookings that happen on your calendar, what's happening is that many of the booking platforms offer very easy ways to connect your booking platform to your advertising account. And that way the information can flow easily between the two. And I know for sure, I'm a Checkfront user, so I know that Checkfront has that ability, but I've checked with others like Bookio, Zola, Fair Harbor. They all have this feature, and I'm sure others as well. You just need to check out their step-by-step processes to connect these accounts so that the information, the sales information, can transfer to the account. Now what I want to do, I want to give you an example that happened to us where we made significant changes to our advertising strategy based on the fact that I was looking at return on ad spend. So the example is when we opened our business. So we're located in a suburb north of Montreal in Canada. Montreal, a densely populated location. And what we wanted to do as a suburb, we wanted to target the people from Montreal to come to our location. We're not very far from Montreal, so we thought initially that, yeah, people are definitely going to be interested in coming to play escape rooms at our location. And so what we did is, and that example applies with Google, we targeted specifically keywords with the mention Montreal. So we did escape room in Montreal, room escape Montreal, the variations in French and English. And basically what we noticed initially was that, hey, this is generating a lot of traffic. So we had a high volume of traffic. And I was excited about it because I was seeing the numbers on my website. I'm like, wow, I got a lot of people coming to our website. And then after a few weeks, when I looked at the actual revenue that was generated from these specific keywords, what I noticed was that, oh, wait a minute. I have a return on ad spend on these terms that is below 1. So meaning I'm spending more advertising than revenue that I'm generating. So that was a significant problem because on one side I'm like, well, I have a lot of traffic. I don't want to lose that traffic, but then I'm not generating money from that traffic. So after a bit of reflection and thinking, I decided, all right, I'm going to take this step and not target anything regarding Montreal. And what happened was that, yes, definitely I've lost a lot of traffic to my website, but my bookings actually went up because my budget that I was using was far more efficient by targeting a more localized audience that was really more likely to book at our location. So ROAS, or return on ad spend, was a key component to make a tough decision that provided positive results for our business very early on. So in conclusion, for the portion about performance tracking and optimization, when your goal is to convert and generate bookings and sales, the one component you want to be looking at is your return on ad spend. That's really the most important metric that will help you understand the performance of your advertising. The other thing that's important to note here is that even if your return on ad spend is not extremely high, think about also the lifetime value of a customer. So if you were able to generate one booking, even if it's only, let's say, 2x as a factor of your return on ad spend. So you're generating double what you've invested. It doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're able to get this client to come again and again and play all of your rooms, then you'll understand the lifetime value of a customer, and that's also a very important aspect to think about when you're tracking performance for your campaign. So as long as you have a positive return on ad spend and a great strategy to generate loyalty with your customers, then you're on a winning path for sure. So here we are in the final portion of this presentation, and I know that we've seen a lot of stuff very quickly, and the question that you might be asking yourself is, do I have what it takes? Do I have the skills to tackle digital marketing on my own? I know there's a lot of different owners out there, but many of you I know are very DIY, and you like to do everything yourselves. So whether from the concepts to the construction, to the operations, to marketing, digital marketing might be an interesting new skill to master for some of you. But what's important to understand is that this is only the foundation. It's the basics that we've shown you. With that, then you can pile on other techniques and other concepts that you can apply to your digital marketing. And also, it's a domain that's constantly evolving. There's always new things that are added, things that are changing. So it's really important to understand that when you're tackling digital marketing on your own. But at the same time, you know, learning this new skill is absolutely awesome, and you will save a lot of money in the process. Now, if you wish to actually subcontract and have professionals take care of your digital marketing campaigns, then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the different types of agencies and freelancers that exist and what to look out for when you're going to sign that contract with them so that you don't get screwed. So first of all, if you're dealing with a freelancer or an agency, make sure to look at their track record. So if you're dealing with a freelancer, it's important to make sure that they have the proper certifications from Google and Facebook in order to be an advertiser. So basically, they have to pass an exam on a yearly basis in order to maintain that certification status. Now, if you're working with an agency, make sure they have the proper certifications. So with Google, they can be either a Google Partner or a Google Premier Partner. With Facebook, they have to be a Facebook Marketing Partner. Now, agencies that have these certifications, they earn them by meeting certain criteria, like performance level, so the campaigns that they're running are performing well, that they have a minimum spend, so they spend a certain amount of money, so they have a certain amount of clients, and also that they have enough certified specialists, so they have enough employees that have individual certifications within their agency. And also, these agencies have very privileged access to Google and Facebook so that they can attest to the performance, they can provide new information on features that are coming up, even beta testing some features from these platforms. So agencies have a little bit of an edge when they have these certifications. Also, they have access to platforms that provide optimization via artificial intelligence, some things that an individual could not afford on their own to have. So these agencies present some of these advantages when they are certified with Google and Facebook. So another thing to look out for when choosing an agency or a freelancer is not to get fooled by a contract that would be too good to be true. Here are a couple examples of contract formats that I've seen and the things you have to look out for these different types of contracts. So there are some agencies and freelancers that will actually take the management of your account for free. And I say free because actually what they're going to do is they're going to upsell you on a whole bunch of different other features. So while yes, it's free, make sure to look out for what they're going to charge you on, because they could charge you on providing advanced reports, conversion tracking, so that you can track return on ad spend. And they might also charge you on modifications to the account. So it's really important to be aware where these charges are going to happen. Now, another way freelancers and agencies will set up contracts is in a pay per performance format. So if the campaign is not performing, you will not pay. Seems very interesting at first, but there are things to look out for as well. So, we talked about return on ad spend earlier. So it's important that when they talk about performance, that you agree upon what performance actually means. And remember, for us, it means return on ad spend. I want to have revenue from my ad spend. So you have to figure out and agree upon a certain level of return on ad spend for the performance. Now, the other thing you have to look out for is that sometimes, agencies will have dirty tactics to make sure that the return on ad spend is high. Now, while this is not necessarily a bad practice in itself, what agencies will do to boost it is that they will bid on your brand. So let's say on Google, they spend money on keywords like, let's say we're Immersia. So on Immersia. Now, the intent of the user on Google in that context is my business directly. So it's obvious that the return on ad spend on keywords when the intent is our business directly is going to be skyrocketing. So the return on ad spend is going to be extremely high, and it's going to skew the performance when compared to keywords that the intention is not directly related to your business. So what you want to do is make sure that when they're tracking performance, they're only doing it on those keywords that are not related to your business. So that's also really important to look out for when choosing an agency or freelancer that does pay-per-performance. Now, another type of contract that you may find is freelancers and agencies charging by the hour. So basically, they will charge you an hourly rate for creating your account, optimizing your account, and all the work that they're going to be doing on it. So please note that this is an extremely competitive landscape. There's a ton of freelancers and a ton of agencies that are competing for your business. So make sure to look out for the highest rated ones. Make sure that they have the certifications like we mentioned, but make sure you find a rate that is comfortable for your needs. And another form of contract is actually that some agencies and freelancers will charge you a percentage of your spend and keep it as management fees. So as an example, if an agency says, okay, so we're going to charge you 25% management fees, basically what it means is if you're spending $1,000, there's going to be $750 that will be attributed to the advertising itself, and then they're going to keep $250 for their management fees. So make sure you're aware of that split, because there are some agencies, depending on your budget, that can take up to 50% as management fee. So make sure this information is clear. So no matter what your contract structure is, make sure of the following things. First of all, make sure you can get out of it at any time. Don't get stuck into a 6, 12, 18 months contract. Make sure that you can get out at any time. But also, please note that results can take a bit of time to really get going. So make sure to allow at least a couple months, usually 3 to 6 months. You should start seeing very, very positive results for your business. If you don't, if you're not satisfied, then make sure to get out as soon as possible and go with another company that might do better results for you. And finally, when choosing an agency or a freelancer, make sure to make them accountable. Request reports regularly. Make sure that they send you reports about the performance, and also make sure that you have access to an account manager that can answer your questions or make changes in a reasonable amount of time. Because again, I've seen places where it can take up to 7 days to make a change on a campaign when it's very crucial for your business. So make sure they have a structure that allows for quick turnaround and that they are accountable for what they do. So, in conclusion, let's review the key concepts that we've seen from this presentation. Google search ads are based on the specific intent of the user. Facebook advertising is based on interests, status, and demographics. No matter how you structure your Google search ads or Facebook ads account, always make it so you can create relevant ads that will lead to a relevant page and provide a relevant call to action. Create engaging content for your Facebook community of fans. Optimize your digital advertising campaigns based on the return on ad spend, or ROAS. If you want to DIY, make sure to take some time to educate yourself. Many free resources are available online. If you want to work with an agency, make sure they are certified and that the contract structure is 100% transparent and clear for you. I hope this presentation was helpful and that there's some concrete actions that you're going to be able to take from that on your own digital marketing campaigns. Definitely, this is really a foundation as to how to structure it. And thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to take your questions at this moment. Thank you very much.